one of my new books is called Zing, Seven Creativity Practices for Educators and Students. And it is a series of 14 letters about creativity, prompted by teachers and librarians and professors who would say to me in private, I want to do what you do. Tell me how you write. Part of writing that book was to answer that question. So 7 of the 14 letters are about how we foster our own creativity. The other reason for writing the book is that I talk about those 7 practices as they relate to all of our students. So for example, if the first practice is, I have to believe in my creative self. Sometimes that can be hard for teachers and librarians, for most of us, right? Though we're adults and think of ourselves as somewhat poised, we can doubt our creative selves. But the first step in sort of fostering and nurturing our imaginative side is to believe that we have one. And I tell the story in the book that when I'll say to teachers and librarians, well, how many of you think you're creative? Inevitably someone will say, I'm organized. Well, I'm organized too, and that would be my answer. I mean, it's a hard thing. And we can feel almost a little arrogant about saying we're creative. We shouldn't feel that way. Everyone's creative. I do believe that. So I wanted to establish this very intimate voice and to be sharing what I think I've learned in the now almost 30 years of being a writer. I did many other things before. I was a teacher and a university administrator and a consultant. But really at a certain point I thought, I love reading so much and I want to be a writer. And I think many people in education have that desire. So I wanted to share what I'd learned and coming up with these 7 creativity practices of, believing in yourself, creating the time to hear yourself, gathering your materials, diving in and beginning your project, being willing to revise, sharing, and then beginning the whole process again. So thinking for myself, what are the 7 steps I go through, or the 7 practices? The word practice was very important to me. We talk about the practice of medicine, right? We don't treat doctors that way. We think of them as having absolute answers. But in point of fact, as teachers, as librarians, as writers, we are practicing. And we need to be practicing. One of the themes of the book is, if I'm not a reader, how can I be exciting my students about reading? And if I'm not a writer, so the challenging aspect of the book is, I'm asking you to be a writer. Or, I try to stress, it could be that you want to be a painter or you want to compose songs, but I'm asking you to be involved in a creative activity as a way of giving yourself energy, as a way of sharing a part of yourself with the world that maybe you have kept locked in, and then as a way to be able to say to your students or to your patrons, well, when I was working on my poem the other night, I got stuck, and here's how I solved it. And I talk in the book how, a math teacher goes up to the smartboard or the blackboard or whatever and says, well, let me tell you how to solve that problem. And I think in the language arts and in English, we haven't done that. I look back at my own teaching and I think I would have been a far better teacher if I had been writing when I was talking about writing. But I wanted it to suggest this creative spark that I think we have and that I think helps us to be more zestful, to sing our song, and that's what I hope is the spirit of Zing. When children say to me, what's the best part of your job? Of late, my answer has been the best part of my work is having the quiet to write. There are many things about being a writer that are a great blessing. And that's whether I'm talking about writing for adults or writing for children. You know, very different kinds of blessings. I think that because of Dia, which is just, it's my fourth child and a big time gobbler, I have less and less of the quiet time that I cherish for writing. And I said to a group of writers recently, I don't think people understand how I long for that time to write. And even a couple of the writers looked at me as if I were daffy, but I do long for it. I love to do it. I love to go out and speak. I derive a lot of energy from audiences. I love to see the people I write for. But oh, the joy of sitting by myself with a piece of paper and a pen at my dining room table and feeling that I can explore a new idea. I can, if I come up with a very specific project, be firm with myself. And one of the things I stress in Zing is gentle firmness, is what I call it. I try to discourage people from ever saying anything negative in their self-talk, either about their writing or about how they're organizing their lives. I think that's so destructive. But I try to put things down in pencil on my calendar. And if I have a very specific project, I will set a deadline for myself. My challenge is not looking at emails in the morning, not answering the phone, feeling that the world's going to do just fine without me, the world's going to go on great when I'm no longer here, and being firm with myself about the books I want to write. When I often don't look at, for example, children's books catalogs, because I can find it so depressing. I see all these wonderful ideas and I think, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I write that? It's without the quiet, I don't think a writer can really find the sort of internal nourishment. But I also say to audiences of all ages, you cannot hear your ideas if you don't have quiet. I am the kind that finds even the motor on a refrigerator difficult. I like total quiet, which makes me very weird to people, but I really do.
The Meet the Author series is a production of WETA. Major funding for Colorín Colorado is provided by the American Federation of Teachers, with additional support from the United States Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs. For more information about teaching ELLs, please visit us at www.colorincolorado.org.